Hi everyone, welcome to episode 2 of the Family Homelessness Information Series. My name is Kara Lair. I'm here with Kevin McNichol, Vice President of Strategy at Calgary Homeless Foundation. Before we jump into the questions, do you want to explain a little bit about what Calgary Homeless Foundation does and its role in Calgary's homeless serving sector?
Sure. Thanks, Kara. Yeah, the Calgary Homeless Foundation has been in charge or responsible for stewarding the homeless system of care's plan to end homelessness since 2008. And at that time, we were identified by a group of concerned Calgarians who'd come together from various ministries of government and community and the social service agencies that were addressing homelessness to come together with a plan. And then the Calgary Homeless Foundation at the time was then asked to steward that plan forward for the last 10 years. So we have been fulfilling that role as stewards. And the plan, of course, itself is wrapped up here as of January, and we're using this final year to finish the work and report back on what we've accomplished as a community.
Great. Wonderful. So this week we're talking about data and research in the homeless serving sector. Do you want to elaborate a little bit on what role data and research plays in our work?
So ever since the plan, and I think one of the strengths within the homeless serving system of care as a whole has been the reliance on data and research to guide the programming that we put in place, to improve that programming performance, to make strategic planning from everything about answering the question, how many houses do you need, affordable housing, to how many units of programming, what type of programming, and to really have a sense and strategically organize around what are the needs of the persons who are experiencing homelessness at this point.
How has the role of data and research changed since the introduction of the plan? Have we seen more of it? Has it remained the same?
It has grown tremendously, and it gets used a lot. So in 2008, we had been doing pit counts in this community since I think 1992. So we had a fairly good idea of how many persons were experiencing homelessness, and we were using that data to trend out that at the time of the plan, we were projecting out to be almost 10,000 that would have been homeless by the end of the plan. And so there's an example of how data was being used in the early days. The second is an idea around how do we enhance program performance, which is really at the agency and the program level, and it's aggregated data from the client level to that program performance piece. And then the third layer is the strategy, and really looking at what does the system need, where is this community going from a homeless serving sector, and how do we need to enhance and grow to get better and better. And an example of that will be a paper that should be published here in the spring of 2018, is looking at graduation rates. Who is graduating from our programs? So that's a layer deeper than just are you being stably housed? This is actually asking what are the predictive factors that seem to lead people to graduate or not? And then we'll be using that information to come back and do education, training, and awareness with our program providers to understand that work and to enhance our systems around saying, hey, our goal is that everybody graduates. How do we get there, and what seems to be in the way, and do we need to adapt some programming to overcome some of those obstacles that some of our persons who are experiencing homelessness might be bringing in.
Where do you see gaps in the system? Where could we improve?
Yeah, so there's lots. I mean, I don't think you can ever have enough information. Mm-hmm. And for me, at the strategic level, we continue to have a gap. And one of the classic questions is how many persons or families are experiencing homelessness? Mm-hmm. I don't know anyone who actually has that answer for the city of Calgary. We have some very high-level census-level data, for example, that tells us about how many, looks at income and then asks the question, what's the percentage of income that's being directed towards the cost of housing? We have some data coming out from Ron Kneebone and Marguerite Wilkins from the School of Public Policy looking at the affordability index for low-income earners in our city.
How can we, as a system of care, work to improve data sharing and data usage?
I would speak into that question from a client perspective. I think most clients who are coming into our system don't want to be homeless. Mm-hmm. I think that's a fair piece. Our job, and from a leadership perspective at a programmatic level, on behalf of those clients, is to make sure that we're using their data maximally. we're making sure that we've gotten the right permissions and releases, and they're informed about what that data will be used for, and then we maximally apply it to help them get out and stay out. That's what they want, and that's what their data. We need to overcome that. And so we have to have leadership around the sharing of information appropriately, and I would say in a timely way and in a right way that facilitates all of those systems coming to the client versus the client having to go to each one of those systems. Right now, our system works the other way, where every time the client has to go to that other system, retell their story, and then off to the next.
So lastly, if people are interested in getting more involved or learning more about research and data in the homeless serving sector, or how they can make a difference, in your opinion, what can people do?
So I would start on the CHF website. There's a whole research area with a research agenda. In that research agenda, it gives you a sense of where what's being researched right now, and where we've been either been directed by community or are identifying within about where we want to go with our research. Always open to having direct feedback about questions that we could and should be asking, and that can be funneled in through either our Director of Research, Nick Falvo, or myself, or right to the CEO if you like. Those are always interesting spaces. Sometimes we have answers into that space, and sometimes they're really good questions that we need to drive on. There's also a number of conferences that happen, the Canadian Alliance to End Homelessness. There's also a 7 Cities conference. Those are places where people can find out about what research or hear what agencies are doing on the ground from an operational perspective. Well, the point in time count is a citywide initiative, and we have the fortune of backboning that, if you will. So that's happening in April 11th, I believe, and volunteers, that's another way people could participate. It's an amazing experience. On April 11th, we'll be going out, mustering at City Hall and putting volunteer teams together, and going out and canvassing the city for that point in time. And that canvas involves identifying persons who may be homeless on the street and interviewing them. So that it's a great way to get connected to the experience of gathering data, but also identifying who some of the persons that are living on our streets on a regular basis, and some of the needs and who they are and where they came from. So that is also a great opportunity.
Yeah, very cool. Great. Well, thank you, Kevin. That wraps up this segment of the Family Homelessness Information Series. Again, if you want to look into more of what the Calgary Homeless Foundation does, you can check out their website, calgaryhomeless.com. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, Kara.